Hey, AunTeaFee about the facts. Facts, facts, facts. Let's listen to Emmett Smith tell his encounter. Try to cover up why he was really after Tyre Nichols. Broke all the rules, all the laws. He broke the law. Yeah.
By what we did. Emmett Martin of
happened. Testimony is coming from a former officer who was on the scene that night. Former Scorpion Unit member Emmett Martin was the first officer. We are fearful about what happened the night Tyre.
For a traffic violation with Martin and
He pulled him over and didn't know. You did not know how fast he was going. So you don't know if he was speeding or not. You said he sped up. You didn't say it turned yellow. So you was harassing him.
through a red light and gave chase. Martin admitting he didn't know how fast Nichols was going, but that a chase for a traffic violation was against MPD policy.
Chasing him down.
It would be the first of several policy violations, Martin testified he and other officers committed that night, describing how he, Demetrius Haley, and Officer Preston Hemphill surrounded Nichols' car, yelling, "Get the expletive out of the car and get on the ground. I'm gonna tase your expletive." Martin said Nichols was never resisting and there was no reason to tase him, which Hemphill did. Martin says by the time they caught up with Nichols, who managed to run away, Darius Bean and Justin Smith had him on the ground, hitting him with a closed fist. He said Desmond Mills took out his baton and started hitting Nichols 3 times on the arm. And that was against policy since Nichols was not a threat. Martin admitted he should have stepped in, but instead he said, "I punched him in the face 5 times with a closed fist." When asked why he did it, Martin said, "I was mad. I was already on edge prior to even getting there. We tried to get him in custody and it wasn't working. He ran, and that's what happened." Martin said Haley delivered a vicious kick between Nichols' torso and head. Martin said he also added to the kicks, saying Nichols' body jerked. He admitted kicking is not a trained police technique. One thing Martin maintained, out of all the officers on the scene, no one told the other to stop or pull back. By the time their Lieutenant Dwayne Smith showed up, he says no one mentioned the punches and kicks they had delivered to Nichols, saying if they did, they would have been charged. Instead, they told him Nichols was high, something they didn't have evidence of, and that he was driving. Their Lieutenant Dwayne Smith showed up. He says no one mentioned the punches and kicks they had delivered to Nichols.
Okay, so wait a minute. I have to retract what I've been thinking and what I've been saying, but still, why did...
One thing Martin maintained, out of all the officers on the scene,
because I was saying that the lieutenant knew, but now he is covering for the lieutenant.
Smith,
I don't know about that. Just keep listening.
Showed up. He says no one mentioned the punches and kicks they had delivered to Nichols, saying if they did, they would have been charged.
They couldn't tell. They couldn't look at him and tell.
Nichols was high, something they didn't have evidence of, and that he was driving into oncoming traffic and got out of his car swinging. Martin saying they had to justify his actions to justify theirs. Martin also testified to a code that was a general understanding. I'm not going to tell on them, and I know they're not going to tell on me. Not going to put them in a situation where they get in trouble.
You did.
It was an understanding. Basically, we did what we needed to do. I wasn't going to tell on them, and they weren't going to tell on me. And Martin's saying a lot here in court today. Bear with me if you will. Martin also
All right, they need to go
testified
and take
he
a plea.
gestured for Mills to take off his body camera because he didn't want it to catch what they were saying after the beating, saying it was common practice to tell on them and they weren't going to tell on me. And Martin's saying a lot here in court today. Bear with me if you will. Martin also testified he gestured for Mills to take off his body camera because he didn't want it to catch what they were saying after the beating, saying it was common practice to remove the camera, leave it running on the car. He'd seen other people do it, so he did the same thing. He also said the assault report the department wrote up for him, since Nichols was trying to take Martin's gun, what he said happened, was also full of untruths, as well as Martin's own response to resistance report, even down to the lack of information they gave dispatch and EMTs and first responders about Tyre Nichols' injuries. They never told anyone what they did. Right now, Martin is still on the stand. He is being questioned by the defense attorneys.
I don't know
Now
if I
they're
believe
bringing
that.
out how Martin is getting
Because
a
there was other
substantial,
witnesses
assistance
in the
his own
neighborhood.
case for his testimony here, and how he never mentioned Tyre's first question to officers that night they pulled him out of the car, saying Nichols never told them, saying Nichols did tell them, why y'all always expletive with me. Martin says he didn't mention it because no one ever asked. Reporting live for News Channel 3, I'm April Thompson.